Okay. You guys hear me? We're live. Doing well. How you guys doing? How are you feeling? Yeah, sorry, it's probably I need to figure out how to set that intro to not be so loud. I haven't actually gone back and previewed it. I can't hear anything on my end, so yeah. You guys got any fun plans for Halloween? I have like one friend party I'm going to. Don't know where I'm going to be yet. We'll see, but nothing really crazy. Hopefully just probably honestly just gonna be catching up with homework and SpireHelm stuff. Honestly. D&D anniversary on Halloween? That's cool. I didn't know that. University event, yeah. Old book in the basement. Got a face on the covers called some Neck or something. Yeah, that'll definitely go over well, I'm sure. Eat candles. Yeah. Okay. Give people just another minute to get in here, and then we will jump into the Ignispex reveal as well as chapter 2 and all of that. I am really hyped. Got some really cool stuff for you today, so thanks for all being here. I'm excited. I'm hyped. The reason you're not seeing anything on the screen is because I don't want to spoil anything. So that's that. Yeah, chapter 2. A little. I don't remember whose idea chapter 2 was. I had some ideas for chapter 2 a while ago, but somebody in the Discord mentioned how it would be fun if we had like a Halloween themed writing prompt at some point, and so this is essentially going to be that, as well as the introduction of the Ignispex, which is something I've been thinking about for a long time but haven't had ready to introduce, but I feel like it fits the vibe of kind of the mysterious, unsettling, whatchamacallit, of the world. I'm trying to remember whose idea it was. Soup Bowl in the Discord, I think. I don't know if Soup Bowl is in here, but if you are, shout out. This is your stream essentially. So should be pretty fun. Very excited. I'm just going to throw one more tag in here. I won't tag everyone. Those who want to be tagged for the stream will be here. Okay. Should we get started? How many chapters were there? Infinite, but none. We are currently just on chapter 2, which starts today. Not that you can't write about chapter 1. Once again, it's all... Oh my gosh, my mic's over here. Sorry if I've been sounding weird. Just realized my little lav mic is way over there. Let me clip this on over here. Yeah, the chapters, we're just starting on chapter 2 today. So there's yeah, you're allowed to go back and write on the other ones. They're more just about topics to write on, and it gives people a framing for what to write about, and like it kind of gives us a story arc. So as we move through the chapters, they'll progress in time, and then we'll have, once we get to say chapter 10 or chapter 20, we'll have a really solid history for the events leading up to where we are in the quote-unquote current lore timeline, where Alethius has been gone for 50 or so years. You know, so we're starting like 200-ish years before that. Does anybody know the exact date? I have it up here. 4812 is the year that Alethius was last seen, and chapter 1 starts on 4600. So yeah, just about 200 years before chapter 2 is going to be pretty shortly after that. It's not much. Nope, haven't missed anything yet. If you're new here, popping in, welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here. Hoping to have a pretty good time. Yeah, okay. Let's get in. Let's start going. I think, okay, so one of the prompts is about the Ignispex, so I think we have to go Ignispex first, and then we can get to chapter 2. Does that work for everyone? I think I don't see a different way of that working. Yeah, I think that's how we're gonna do it. So I'm just gonna read off a little something about the Ignispex, a little monologue. I thought about having a voice acted video and try to do like an animation for it. I don't have the time for that. I didn't this time. I would love to do something cool like this soon. I had a whole vision in my head of like, I don't know. I thought about doing just a lyric video or just a monologue or whatever. I had a voice actor do a little bit of stuff, but so far there's nothing. So it's just gonna be me today. But I do have something else I've been working on with Ignispex I think you guys will really like. So without further ado, the shadows of SpireHelm are shrouded in mystery. But there are those who can see the unseen. They who possess abilities beyond the orders of magic, powers to prophesy, to reveal that which hides in darkness, limited by one element alone, the flame. If you dare to desire answers to the unknowable, seek audience with the Ignispex. Bring with you the kindling of their domain, and heed well their counsel, as they scry into the flames of your offerings and read from them your truths unknown. Okay, let's do this. I'm hyped. Here we are. Boom! Ignispex. This is gonna be awesome. This is the Ignispex quick start guide made by yours truly, me. Cover art by me. And I went off like the the old D&D books, the TSR, kind of like those old games. So yeah, it looks like an old D&D manual. That's what I was going for. So this is if you don't count the cover page, it's a 5-page micro module, you could call it. If it was a D&D game, it'd be a module. In this case, it's more for creative writing and to kind of get in the vibe for what the Ignispex is, how to make your own. Like it says, everything you need to know about the Ignispex and how to make your own. Guys, this is a blueprint. Everybody gets to make their own Ignispex. You get an Ignispex, you get an Ignispex, everybody gets one. So, the Ignispex are the seers, the prophets of the realm, and I am really, really hyped to get this out there. This is a spin on the traditional oracles, seers, prophets of fantasy. So this will be the SpireHelm's one version of a prophet. Not that there couldn't be other prophets, but the highest form of seer in the realm will be the Ignispex. So this one here, featured on the cover, is Stilthus, the Ignispex of Bones. He's the one I've been kind of working on the most. I've done a lot of different ideas and some iterations and stuff. So he is in the back, actually. He is the 3-eyed skull with a tusk coming out. It's a little bit choppy, like it got super bit crushed and stuff. I kind of wanted it to be hard to read and see. I'll probably go back and maybe edit this one specifically, and this is an unfinished piece as well. It's not perfectly polished. There are many Ignispecs. Everybody will be able to make their own. So, but yeah, he's holding a skull, and there are flames coming from inside the skull, and that is what you're seeing. So, they do have an Eldritch feel to them, yes. Okay, let's get on to page 2, shall we? So, at the top, this is what I just read off, but I'll read it one more time. The shadows of SpireHelm are shrouded in mystery, but there are those who can see the unseen. They who possess abilities beyond the orders of magic, powers to prophesy, to reveal that which hides in darkness, limited by an element alone, the flame. If you dare desire answers unbeknownst, seek audience with the Ignispex, bring with you the kindling of their domain, and heed well their counsel, as they scry into the flames of your offerings and read from them your truths unknown. So, let me blow this one up a little bit. It's easier to read. The Ignispex, oracles, seers, and prophets of the realm, gaining their revelatory sight by scrying flame, mysterious in origin and mythic in existence, seeming to disappear as suddenly as they appear. Like other zealots, their eyes are hidden from others, reserved for flame divination alone. Though the throne would have the Spire folk believe that they are all seers for the betterment of the kingdom, most are indifferent. The oracles simply scry truths and myths of the future, with most having very few other motives. While the true origin and nature of the Ignispex are unknown, each individual is limited by their domain, a specific type of material with which they can scry. This material sustains their life and fuels their power. Those who desire counsel from these prophets must bring kindling that is of the same domain as the Ignispex. The Ignispex then burn the offerings and scry into the flames. While the communication methods of each Ignispex differ, they often reveal oracles in rhyme or mystery, twisting truths into riddles. Those lucky enough to encounter one report that their domains are typically broad enough to account for a variety of material, both in type and amount, leading to an array of prophecies. The Archive of SpireHelm reiterates that the nature of these so-called Ignispex are unknown, and that their prophecies, while enticing, often lead to obsession, and possibly an audience with one's own fate. Okay. Yeah, I'll go over some questions at the end, but for now I just want to kind of, this is meant to be a little bit mysterious and kind of like pick through it at your own rate. This will be, this whole PDF will be sent in the Discord shortly after this stream, or actually probably after we get through the whole thing. I wanted to give it to you guys here first, since obviously you're here on stream. You guys are the ones who get it. And then to those who come later, they'll get everything, obviously, and you guys can feel free to share this however you want. It's not copyrighted by any means. It's just out there for anyone to use. This is something I want everybody to have access to, because the Ignispex are going to be a very crucial point in just the world building in general. I think for any story, you could weave an Ignispex in here or there. It really fits the dark fantasy genre. Anyways, so here is my example Ignispex that I am providing for this this release here. So this is Silthus, the Ignispex of Bones. He was shown on the cover. This is him there. In the back, he's not super well defined. I'm still working on some more concept art for him, since that's what I enjoy doing. But we'll go through a couple things here with Silthus. He is the Ignispex of Bones, meaning that he gets his power from burning and reading prophecies from bones. So these are ordered in any way you really want, but I have a reason for ordering them, then ordering the aspects here in this manner and this order, and I'll go over that a little bit later. For now, let's read through them. We have Sanctum. At dusk, burn the end of a bone, follow the smoke, and you will find him. He resides in a large tent, the rib cage of a large beast. Stretched across the surface, a large canvas, littered with all manner of stitched symbols. Countenance. Large, hunched mass of clattering bones. 3 eye sockets lie within his malformed skull. His jaw hangs wide open, bearing splintered teeth beneath 2 curved tusks. A chimera of corpses. When he scries, wings splay open on his back. Though cloaked, many clawed feet can be seen scuttling about beneath his robes. Stricture. Kindling proves important, as Silthus' prophecies differ with each offering. If the supplicant brings the bones of a beast or creature they themselves killed, they will receive increased specificity into the truth. Found bones offer truth into the past of the creature, perhaps showing the means of their demise. The larger bones burn slow, lengthening his prophecy, while smaller ones offer only a glimpse. Bones taken from the living offer the strongest of prophecies, though not many dare to offer such a tithe. Can you guys read this okay, by the way, as I'm reading this? Can you guys see the text? Hopefully that's working okay. And lastly, known oracles. Keller Smythe, Sunpeak, 4655. Kindling, finger bones of his deceased daughter. Oracles. According to his journal, the Ignispex revealed that a serpent man had taken his daughter in the night and had bitten off her finger in the struggle. Smythe was later found dead in the swamp near his home alongside the body of a serpent man. Van de Trina, unknown moon, 4661. Kindling, an old fox skull and chicken wings. Oracles. Silthus revealed the location of the fox's den. Van was able to kill the fox that had been eating her chickens and lambs. And then there's this little bit off to the side. The kindling was the only payment he requested. Gold, jewels, servitude, none he would take. I fought my mind to give it, but my heart won true. Sobbing now, I mourn my loss, alone in regret. Just a little something. So here are some other Ignispex examples. These are some other theory ones I came up with. I haven't done concept art for all of them yet. People are more than welcome to spin off, obviously, any of these designs, any of these ideas, but these are some that I think would be really cool as staple pieces to the Ignispex, like when it gives you an idea for where you can take this. So we've got the Ignispex of roses. Each petal a word, each color a theme. The Ignispex of spice. Rare indeed are many spices, and short-lived their flames. The Ignispex of scrolls. Would you burn the knowledge writ for that unseen? Ignispex of oil. From leaves, from the earth, from skin, and from seeds. Ignispex of scales. Fish, serpent, dragon, beast. Ignispex of cursed blood. Without an utterance, but with quill and burnt blood, he reveals on parchment secrets, futures, and possibilities. Ignispex of impure ore. Oft, truths desired are best had unpolished and unrefined. And lastly, the Ignispex of cursed... Oh, no, it says cursed moss. That's supposed to be Ignispex of moss. I will have to go back and edit this. This is the Ignispex of moss, not cursed moss. Countenance of stone, covered in budding lichen and moss. He resides in a cave, dripping for eternity. Literally fire? Thanks. Okay, so those are some examples. Obviously, the cursed moss one is supposed to just be moss. I think I accidentally copied and pasted that in Adobe Illustrator, and it got thrown in there. But I guess cursed moss could be a thing. I don't see why not. So, here we go. Making an Ignispex. I'll zoom this one in since there's two parts to this page. So, I would encourage you to make your own Ignispex for the realm of SpireHelm. However, you do not need to make an entire entry about them in order to use them in your creations. Simply follow the blueprint to get an idea of what they might be like and add them into your collections and records as you'd like. If you don't have an idea for one but want to incorporate them into your writing, I'm sure people in the community would be happy to offer theirs to you. So yeah, you don't have to make an entire full explanation for any Ignispex you want to add into your works. If you just want someone to be on a quest and they bump into an Ignispex, or they are looking for one, you can just make up just the name or the title or their domain, and that's pretty much all you would need to add them into your writing. But if you want to write extensively about one, the blueprint would offer you a pretty good like starting point. Another little Easter egg here. The whispers of omens sang sweet from the flame. Pondering, I've sat now for days on the same. So, theme. The Ignispex represents a spin on a classic oracle, seer, or dark prophet in traditional fantasy. For the Spire folk, the oracles of this realm all fall under this title, limited to flames. So when making your Ignispex, consider leaning into tropes and themes of classic retro fantasy. Like everything else in SpireHelm, just lean into it. We're going for classic fantasy here, but this allows for a lot of variation within one kind of frame of a prophet, seer, whatever. Remember that the idea here is for each Ignispex to be mysterious, mythic in nature, and mostly unknowable. You don't need to write an extensive backstory for them. Knowledge of them should come from their encounters with Spire folk and word of them being passed around the realm. So there is no official origin for these people. Most of them, I don't think any of them would even have been people in this realm previously. I don't think you can ascend to an Ignispex. You just exist. And because of their mythic nature and they speak in riddles and rhymes, they don't have to tell you where they're from, and none of them would. So you don't need to worry about where they came from. They just exist. It's just known, or is starting to become known now, since they weren't here previously, that these Ignispex exist, and they are of all these varying types. Often, Spire folk will stumble across an Ignispex without preparation. They may have something with them that they could offer for kindling, or maybe they would need to go find offerings and return as a supplicant later. Lastly, remember that no single Ignispex should be able to offer everything to any one supplicant. They speak in riddles and rhymes, only giving information that relates to their domain. For someone to gain all the information they seek, they would need to find many Ignispex for all their queries to be answered. It's kind of redundant right there. I think I meant to cut out that last little bit. They are all found in specific locations. Yes, we'll go over that here in the blueprint. So, blueprint.
If you wish to make a strong Ignispex for your own works, and especially if you want others to reference your Ignispex, I recommend that you follow this blueprint to solidify their attributes. Though some are more important than others, you do not need to complete every aspect at once. While some aspects, not while some Ignispecs, they're all of equal importance. Though some aspects are more important than others, you don't need to complete every aspect at once. Feel free to come back to it as your ideas shift and develop. I've ordered these aspects not by importance, but in the order that a person would encounter them, obviously aside from their domain, since that's probably the most important part. Often, Spirefolk will stumble across them by accident. As such, they would likely first encounter a strange and unfamiliar location where the Ignispex resides. This is their sanctum. Then, they would behold the countenance of this strange creature, often frightening in strangeness. This is their countenance. Then the Ignispex would ask for an offering, and in return promise oracles of truth and desires. That is when the Ignispex may introduce themselves as their domain, their first name, whatever, their title, or when the supplicant would realize who they have found. Lastly, they would realize the limitations of the prophet, depending on their domain and kindling. They may receive different or differing oracles. Oh wait. Yeah. Keep this in mind when writing or creating something regarding your Ignispex or others. Okay. So, here is the official blueprint. There's a section for each aspect: domain, sanctum, countenance, stricture, and known oracles, which is an optional. It's an optional one. So let's start with domain. So arguably the first or the most important part of an Ignispex is their domain. Pick something narrow that still allows for variability in offerings. So a bad example here would be plants. An Ignispex of plants is too broad. There are hundreds of millions of different types of plants. Kindling could be anything from a seed to a full tree. Doesn't have a lot of distinct character since plants have so much variation in look and feel and use case, like, wheat as opposed to poison ivy. You have a lot there. A good example is roses. This is one of the ones that I brought up. Still a plant, but much more specific. Each color of rose could offer a different type of oracle. So we'll go over this a little bit more in the stricture section, but that's something really important. It has a much more distinct character, which could help with countenance and sanctum, which means where they reside, how to find them, and what they look like. And, obviously a lot of these are going to look like a manifestation of their domain in some sense or form. Consider different types of kindling that a supplicant might bring to your Ignispex. If you can think of a few types, but not hundreds, then you're probably on the right track. It's a good rule of thumb for that. Okay, sanctum. The sanctum of your Ignispex could be anything from a location in the land, like a tower, to a cave, or to a means of locating. Whoa. The sanctum of your Ignispex could be anything from a location in the land, like a tower or cave, to a means of locating or summoning them, like a ritual or set of instructions. Additionally, this section should include, if relevant, where your Ignispex resides. Think about your five senses. How does the air feel? What objects or remnants are scattered about? What is the floor made of? What does it smell like? Etc. Countenance. The most memorable aspect of these prophets for many Spirefolk is their physical appearance. These are strange creatures that can look like anything. Consider how your Ignispex looks. Are they a beast? Do they look like an old woman? An owl? A tree? The possibilities are really endless, but pick something that feels natural for their domain, and better yet, something unsettling or strange. Once again, these guys are mysterious, mythic, esoteric. They should feel strange, and like they don't fit into most categories of creatures in the realm. Obviously, there's dark creatures like the lurkers who can kind of adapt and become different things. There's other manifestations of darkness that you guys have come up with. All of those exist, but this feels like something distinct, like real. It's a real thing. It's not just a manifestation of the Dark One and chaos, but they should feel very alien in a lot of ways. Alien in not like a sci-fi way, but alien in a fantasy setting. They should feel otherworldly almost, even though we have no idea where they come from. There is no canon lore. There will never be any canon lore for where these guys come from. They will remain mysterious forever. Okay, stricture. Where each Ignispex is limited to a domain, their oracles should also be limited by which type of kindling a supplicant brings for an offering. Since these seers are typically neutral in motive, they will only give what they feel fits the offerings, demanding more for a different oracle. While this section can be left unspecified, feel free to design a system for your kindling where each category within your domain offers a look into different parts of the unseen. So we'll take Silthus, the Ignispex of Bones, for an example here. He's obviously the Ignispex of Bones, which is pretty broad. However, bones are fairly limited in their scope. You have finger bones, you have limbs, you have rib cages, you have um, skulls, you have spines, you have pelvis, all these different things. So I could imagine you bring them bones from a foot, and it can tell the oracle could tell you where this creature has been or where they are going. You bring them a hand, it could tell you what they have done or what they will plan on doing. You have the brain, you can, what they're thinking, their inner thoughts, their soul. You have your rib cage, maybe this is where you find their soul. You have their spinal cord, which like commands everything. So you have these different ways to interpret these offerings for that, and that's just a human. Then you have animals. You want to bring in a bird. So the old lady, Vanna Detrina, I think, she brought in a chicken wing and a fox skull. So it was her chicken wing from one of her chickens, and then a fox skull from any random fox. And she said, okay, with these two, can you tell me where this fox is? I need to go kill this thing. It keeps eating my chickens. So with the combination of those two, she's then able to get this oracle, this prophecy, and she's able to get what she wants. So I think that's where stricture comes in. So there should be restrictions on the oracle. Once again, these seers give the bare minimum, and in riddle and rhyme and trying to be as mysterious as possible. They don't want to give a straightforward answer for any reason. So they by varying the different types of kindling that someone could bring within their domain, you can come up with a really cool system, not like a hard magic system, but just a cool system of like different ways to interpret, and that gives you a big variety of ways to write. It doesn't kind of block you into kind of plot holes or whatnot. So I can think of different ways, for moss or for roses, I mentioned one word per petal. So if a rose is dying or if it's a small rose, you're only going to get a set number of words, and then he's going to be done. Or her, I don't know, whoever the oracle is. However, each color of rose offers a different thing. Obviously, maybe red, stereotypically is like passion, violence, and then white could be something about, I don't know, something else, or yellow, pink, all the way, this whole spectrum of rose colors that could be brought for different interpretations. So that's kind of where I was going with the stricture. This also falls into the kindling section. Kindling is just the name for the offerings that people bring. You could also call them tithes, offerings, whatever. You're not limited by kindling specifically. That's just the word that I chose. Okay, last section. This is the last page, sadly. I wish there was more to this, but that's it. Known oracles. Lastly, you can provide a list of known oracles that the archive has seen. This is not necessary, but could provide a more narrative look into how your Ignispex operates. This would be especially helpful for those who want to write stories that include your Ignispex in them without getting their stricture wrong or writing in a way that conflicts with your original vision. So I did that for Silthus up here. I just included a couple. These are really broad and not very... we could do way more than this. You could do a full... One of your submissions could be a known oracle from a Ignispex if you wanted to do just one whole story or a journal entry. Like if I were to write out Keller's journal entry about his daughter being kidnapped, him finding the finger in her room, bringing it to this Ignispex, and then finding out where this lizard man was and that he killed her daughter, and then him going and fighting it, struggling, and then killing the lizard man but dying in the swamp himself from injuries. That would be a really cool story. That would fit SpireHelm. It adds depth. You don't need to canonize anything. You don't need to get anything approved. It fits within the given frame of the world. It fits within the frame of the Ignispex. And then you could add that on to your Ignispex if you wanted. And so for people hoping to come use your Ignispex, if they like your idea, then they have examples of things and how the way things work. Like I mentioned that the living bones are the strongest of prophecies. So because it was his daughter who was still alive at the time, when he went to burn it, it was the strongest of prophecies. It gave him exactly where to find the serpent man. It told him who did it and how, whereas Vanna Detrina brought just an old chicken wing unrelated to the one that died and a different fox skull than the one she was trying to kill, but it located the den for her and that was all she needed. So it can give you a good look into the different things. Oracle of grilled chicken. I mean, could be. I mean, I guess if they burned the chicken wing, I don't know if the Ignispex ate it afterwards or if someone else did, but I mean, he burnt it. If there's anything left, I guess it might just disintegrate into ash by the end. Okay, so that is the Ignispex. What do you guys think? Questions? Thoughts? Does it suck? Does it goated? You guys like this format? It took me a while to put together. That's why it's been taking so long to get the Ignispex out, since I've been mentioning it and teasing it forever. But with the the Discord blowing up and everything, I kind of sidetracked it for a week or two, and now I'm coming back. So yeah, I plan on doing some more of these formats. Let me upload it to the Discord really quickly. I'm going to put it in Canon Lore. Let's upload file here. Go. Oh no! It exceeds the file limit. Well, that's not good. I might need to get Nitro here for my SpireHelm account on Discord because it will not let me upload the entire thing. Or maybe could I put it on my Google Drive? Could people access it through Google Drive? I know I don't have Nitro cooked. Ignispex is something non-physical like a memory. I could see that spinning off. The only thing is you have to offer kindling as a price. That's like the offering that the Ignispex burns, and that's how they read the prophecy. They can't just read without it. So you'd have to somehow burn a memory, which would be a little bit hard. But maybe if you go magical and it erases your memory as you do it, you sacrifice a memory for knowledge or something. Could be cool. Are they more human-like or do they look like monsters? Depends. I think it could completely depend on the Oracle and the vibe they're giving off. In this case, for Silthus, he's much more monstrous. He's probably like 7, 8 feet tall and like a hulk of just bones meshed together on like sinews and tendons and whatnot. So, yeah. I like the idea and the art you made for this. Thanks. I appreciate that. This is my best work. This piece was a little bit rushed. I can show you guys. I did like one more sketch of one of the Ignispecs that I can pull out here in a second. Drive sounds easier. Grilled chicken, now Canon, SpireHelm. Nice. Could tied be a token of a memory. Yeah, that'd be a really cool way to do it, Void. Is like you bring a memory and that you bring a token of a memory, like, oh, this is a necklace my dad gave me, and then they burn the necklace and you no longer remember your dad, or I don't know how that works, you know. It could be something really cool. Wizards could only offer memories. They have to put the memory into something physical, perhaps. That could work. I mean, if we look at the Orders of Magic, sorcery goes into the feeding off of the souls and memories of others. So a sorcerer could put a memory into something, and then you burn that. That could be a really cool way of doing it. I could think that could be really cool. General magic, yeah, not a specific tool, yeah. Yeah, I think sorcery, arcanism, wizardry, all of those. Honestly, most of the classes seem good. Oracle of Souls would be fun. Yeah, and Ignispex of Souls could be really interesting. Yeah, let me find my little sketchbook here. See if I can pull out. This is the idea. So going along with do they look like monsters or people? This is the idea I had for the Ignispex of scales. I don't know if this is reading super well. There we go. So kind of like cloaked in a dragon skin or scales of some kind, glowing like smoky eyes that are slit like a serpent. That's kind of the idea I had for him. I don't think I've done any others. I mean, I guess this one could be an Ignispex. It's more of like a giant beast. I don't really know. I don't know which one, but could fit. I'm pretty sure that's the only Ignispex drawings that I've done. I did a really rough thumbnail video about my art process. Yeah, I would love to do some art process videos. That's kind of what I originally made this channel for. Haven't gotten around to doing a lot of art recently. Let me double check really quick. Let me pull up Procreate. Where was the Ignispex of bones? Oh my gosh. Starting to hate Stage Manager, this new iOS update. Oh my gosh. Won't let me go back. Holy smokes. Oh, did I delete it? Oh no, here it is. Okay. This is an iPad. Yeah, that I use for drawing. Yeah. Um, this is the really rough sketch for Silthus, the Ignispex of Bones. So he doesn't have his second wing on. They're connected to his arms. He probably has two arms and then the wings I decided later. So this is going to be completely revised and it's going to change a lot. But, you know, the idea is that he's wearing like some sort of cloak. Obviously, it'll probably go up over his whole head. He has these tusks, this like malformed triple skull, and, you know, all these bones scattered around. Obviously, this is a super, super rough sketch. So how big is this guy? He's probably like 8-ish feet tall. Like, I imagine he's big. And then he lives inside this giant rib cage covered in canvas with a bunch of stitched symbols in it. And with him, because his sanctum is his tent, he appears and disappears kind of at will. It's a way. It's like he is being summoned, but he's not. Think of it like the witch from Brave, because you've seen Disney's Brave. How like she's sometimes there in her hut, but sometimes she's not. But when someone is like eager for her, she appears. Like she's almost there when it fits. For this guy, when people want it, when they want the oracle, and then they burn a bone and follow the smoke, then they'll find his thing. And then when they leave and they trace back their steps, he won't be there anymore. And the tent won't be there, the rib cage, whatever. So that's kind of that's kind of how it works. But I imagine every Ignispex could be different. I mentioned the Ignispex of Cursed Moss, or the Ignispex of Moss, would be just in this cave somewhere, a known cave maybe. And so there's this cave that people know. Oh, if you want some answers to stuff, go find some moss and bring it to this guy, and he'll burn it for you and tell you some stuff. Depending on which type of moss you get, you could get something good. He told me like something completely useless, but for you, he might give you something better. Where can we submit them? That is a really good. We should probably decide that right now before people start spitting out their ideas. In general, ideas or prompts, if you have an unmade submission, if you just have like, oh guys, I think it'd be super cool to have an Ignispex of grilled cheese, you can just put that in ideas or prompts, or obviously the jokes channel if it's a joke one. I thought about making a separate channel just for Ignispex related things. However, the majority of Ignispex content, I imagine, revolves around other things. For example, Keller, in this case, his story could be collected by the archive. So the archive collects his journal, and his journal would be the actual submission. But within the submission, you get hints about this oracle that he visited named Silthus, the Ignispex of Bones, and how he was trying to find his daughter and brought the whatever. So in that sense, I feel like that could go into stories and legends. But at the same time, it is Ignispex related. So I don't want everyone to... I want the Ignispex to be a widespread thing. It is throughout the land, throughout the realm. So I don't want people to feel like if they're making Ignispex content, it has to be just for the Ignispex. If you want to make your own sheet that looks like this, or however format you want to make it, it could just be text, doesn't matter. But if you want to do something like this specifically, you're more than welcome to. And I guess we can maybe make a section for that so that if people are looking for Ignispex to put into their stories and they don't want to make one themselves, or they're wondering whose ideas are out there, I think we could do that. Does that seem smart? Should we make a new submissions channel? Or should it be in lore discussions? I feel like maybe lore discussions would be a better place to have it. Can they be killed or harmed? I didn't actually think about that. I'd imagine they're not like invincible. I imagine there's a hefty price for killing them, and I imagine they are all pretty powerful. So yeah, I don't know. I imagine you could write a story about someone who got angry. They went to an Ignispex, got something, tried to change their fate, got mad, and then went back to kill the Ignispex. And maybe they couldn't find them if they tried, but maybe they did somehow and summoned them. And I don't know. That'd be all interesting. Important people channel. Important people could be. I think we'll just do it under the Grand Archive. I think we'll just make another one. Let me do this really quick. Let's do a duplicate channel. Let's call this one Ignispex Seers Oracles. And let's do the fire emoji for the Ignispex, obviously, since they burn everything. Okay. Okay, I just made the Ignispex. I'm gonna put it under. Oh gosh, where are members, server profile? There we go. Okay. HI. So it'll be under histories and timelines in the Grand Archive section of the Discord for now. But obviously, this should probably be the section for this format that you guys are seeing here on the screen. If you're planning on making a full-blown Ignispex, I don't know why it's not zooming out anymore. Whatever. Zoomed in? No? Whatever. If you're planning on making a full one that you want people to be able to use and do stuff, then you can put it in that one. But obviously, the Ignispex can be related and tied into almost any other story in the whole realm and project of SpireHelm. So feel free to not post them exclusively in the Ignispex section, since the Ignispex are going to be about as widespread as magic when it comes to the realm. People will know that they exist, or they will start to, and then that's where they'll be. Okay, let me read through chat really quick. I got a little bit behind there. There's a difference between Ignispex and Ignispex related content. Yeah, the content goes wherever it fits. That's a perfect way to put it. Is there a place on the map where the Ignispex of Bones tent is? No. That is part of the mythic in essence is kind of the idea here. So there's, for some of them, they might have a physical location, but I think for a majority of them, they don't. And so for the case of Silphus, you just burn a bone and follow the smoke, and as long as your desire for this knowledge, these oracles, is there, you will be sent in the right direction, and then you'll stumble across his tent, and his tent can move. So you might leave and go, oh man, I forgot my bag there, and go back, and the tent will just be gone. In the same clearing where it once was, it'll just be disappeared. And so I think some Ignispecs might not even have a sanctum of sorts. They have a way to summon them, but they don't actually have a physical realm. It might just be a table or a podium, like a basin to burn stuff in. So, yeah. But some could have a physical location. That's totally fine. Channel for the background related stories can go, yeah. What happened until now, Gabriel? We went through the Ignispex quick start guide. I don't know why this isn't working. Why is this? Ah! Goodness. I really have no idea why this is not zooming out. But we went through this quick start guide for the Ignispex, everything you need to know, how to make one, and stuff like that. But it'll be posted shortly to the Discord, maybe during the stream, maybe after the stream, depending on if I can figure it out here. I don't like how I can't see the full thing. Let me try opening it one more time. There we go. That's better. Okay. Just do the ritual and he appears. Yep, for some of them. I think every Ignispex can be different. That's the point of the sanctum section. Is sanctum can mean either where they're located and their physical sanctum, or how to summon them, or call upon them, or how to find them. Because sometimes it could be like you walk in the woods and you find two trees that meet at the base, and then look to the sun and then find this angle. And for every person in the realm, if they follow the same set of instructions with different trees, they could still arrive at the same place, even though it's a different place, obviously, for each person. I think that's a really cool way to do it. It adds mystery and myth to the realm. It keeps us from stepping on each other's toes and having to pick places for all these Ignispecs to be. They are somewhat rare. They should be hard to find, but also able to find. And a lot of it spreads by word of mouth. People will try different things, and whatever works, they'll tell their friends, hey, this is how I found him. It might not work for you. And so people might have misconstrued ideas, or they might be trying to find one Ignispex and find another. They could be going to the Ignispex of roses and then end up stumbling across, I don't know, the Ignispex of leaves or something. I don't know. And then they just offer whatever they have and get a different oracle completely, you know? That'd be a fun way to take it. Others can be tied to a local area. Sure, yeah, I think so. Like the Moss cave probably is a single cave. Maybe it could be a disappearing and relocating cave. Are the Ignispecs like demigods? Not exactly. I don't think there's anything inherently divine about them other than their abilities. Like they are seers and they can see the future, they can see the past, they can see within people's souls and secrets and whatnot. So they're not necessarily immortal, but some could just vanish. Like there is nothing stating that they have to be here all the time. Actually, they weren't here until chapter 1. They hadn't been seen, and now all of a sudden chapter 2 introduces them to where people are looking for answers, and they're stumbling across these new seers that they've never heard of before, and they are talking to them and getting these answers. So they could just disappear for 150 years, and then people will be like, I've been trying to find the Ignispex of Bones for 100 years, and I haven't found him. And then my son, on his first try, just found this guy out in the woods. You know, I think that's totally fitting. Perhaps some could be anchored to objects. Yeah, it could be really cool to have like their essence anchored in a specific object or something. Could be considered cryptids. Yeah, they could definitely be cryptids in a way. There could be a wandering Ignispex, you know, all of that. So the design is completely up to you guys. I hope you guys go crazy with it and have a lot of fun making them. That's the whole point. So Oracle of the Stars could be the Ignispex format. I'm trying to think of how that would fit. I guess if you captured like starlight in some sort of oil or water, and they could burn that starlight water, like Elden Ring has like starlight shards. Like if there's something like that where the stars manifest somehow in physical form, and then you can burn that, that'd be really cool. Ignispecs are oracles that require specific domains of sacrifices to burn. Yep. Oh yeah, this is for Gabriel. Yeah. Sending love from the Deacons of the Deep. Thank you, Schmunk. Would there be rarity for Ignispecs? An object you burn would make them pretty common. If there's rarity, what would be the most difficult to contact? Make them pretty common. Yeah, so I think the rarity of them comes from both. You have to have the desire for the knowledge, which some people don't have. Some people, because these are supposed to be mysteries that are almost come at a price mentally, like cosmic horror levels of knowledge, you know? Not necessarily all of them, some could be beneficial, but people who are looking to exploit this knowledge are definitely going to be the ones who are somewhat punished for it in their mind and going insane or obsessing over their fate or this information or more knowledge and whatever. So it has to be people that want it. They have to stumble across them or complete a ritual or know how to find them, which could be hard or be hard to summon them. Some of them might require an entire concoction of potions that you burn and incenses and combinations of things to get them to appear, like a full-on ritual with salt lines and everything. Others could be really easy. I imagine the more rare, like everything in the world, if it's harder to find, it can be more powerful. If it's harder to access, it can be more powerful. So for these guys, the harder it is to get to them, probably the more powerful they could be. I think they're all about the same power level. Not that it really matters, but they're just profits at the end of the day. And then lastly, they're kindling. So if you arrive to one and you say, oh my gosh, I need information from you. And they go, well, do you have an offering of kindling? And you go, what do you need? And they're like, oh, well, I need bones. And you're like, oh, I'm just myself. I don't have any bones on me. They go, well, then you must bring me the bones so I can scry into the future, you know, whatever. And so then you have to go out and find them and then find them again after you've found their kindling. So that could bring up a pretty hard thing for a lot of people. So I think that's where the rarity would come from. They shouldn't be just a walk in the woods to find for most people. Um, they should be kind of more complicated to get to. And that's up to you guys, I think, to decide how rare you want to make your Ignispecs. Totally up to you. Okay. Mythic feel for Sanctum. Yeah, I think it works. I tried to pick some cool words. Just equating them with spirits from Avatar: The Last Airbender and wizards from Lord of the Rings somewhat. Yeah, yeah, kind of like rare and yeah, like they're connected to some sort of, for the spirits, there's like, they're connected to some sort of essence or element of some kind. Meteor shards. Would invoking an Ignispex curse you in some way, like the price to pay to see the future? I feel like if it's just burning a bone, you see your future, it's kind of OP. Yes, 100%. That is the last section here. Those lucky enough to encounter... Oh, the Archive of SpireHelm reiterates that the nature of these so-called Ignispecs are unknown and that their prophecies, while enticing, often lead to obsession and possibly an audience with their own fate. So the idea here is like, there's always a price to pay. The Ignispecs would have you believe that the only price they require is the kindling. That's how they do their work. That's what gives them life essence. That's what, whatever, and nothing else. But in reality, the idea is that there is a price to be paid through your mental state, your fate. There's all the movies and stories about people who try to change their fate and end up, in doing so, bringing upon themselves their own fate. And I think that's a classic trope, but it fits a lot in this kind of realm. The kindling gives them life essence. Yes and no in a way. It doesn't they don't need it to stay alive, but it's like what they feed on, if that makes sense. So, kind of and sort of. It's more magical than literal in that sense. Have fun, Ollie. Can there be monsters guarding them? Yeah, that could be kind of cool. I could definitely see them potentially having their own little minions scuttling about, their own little Igors, like things that fetch them little things or light the fire for them, or guards that guard them from, if somebody is if there's an Ignispex that's more prone to angering people and upsetting them with their prophecies, then I think it'd be really cool to have like guards that keep people from trying to attack them afterwards. I think that'd be really cool. Grand Archivist having a skeleton key that can open any door. Could be kind of cool. Okay. We'll take a break from Ignispecs for now, and we'll jump into Chapter 2. Let me just add... I don't know how to... Let me, wow. I'm going to upload the Ignispecs Quick Start Guide to my drive. And then anyone who wants to access it will be able to. And obviously you guys can download it, you guys can print it, you can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, that'll be up to you guys. So, how do I share? There we go. Anyone with the link? Copy link. There we go. Throw it here in the Discord. We're going to put it under canon lore. And here we go. Incorporate it. This would go to canon updates, and I think announcement ping, there we go. Okay, somebody wants to just check to make sure that worked. I think it did. Okay. Yeah, the doc's gonna be posted to the Canon Lore announcements channel. And if that works, then you guys should be able to see that. Yeah, just 6 pages, nothing too crazy. I hope to do more stuff like this in the future. I really like the idea of formatting them kind of like these little mini module magazine type, buyable pamphlet type of things. Someday I would love to make a full one with have this be a chapter of it, and then have like all the SpireHelm stuff in it. Once we get to a certain point where there's enough content to put in a set thing, we can print it for real, and you guys can have them, you can buy them, whatever. So, how long does the chapter last? This one's probably gonna last. I mean, this one, the idea was it will last through Halloween, but I imagine this and chapter 1 will go for another couple weeks, and then we'll pick up on chapter 3. So that'll be, sometime in the next few weeks. But I'll make some more announcements once we get closer with that. Okay, that is the Ignispex. Let's go on to chapter 2, which includes some Ignispex in it. Obviously, I want you guys to be able to write about this new thing and what you create, and I hope that's where a lot of the fun comes from. So this is the Ignispex page. This has pretty much all of the same words that are on the PDF, but this will be going into the master lore document. So actually, I can probably just do that right now. Can I copy? No, okay. Let's just do this. Whoops. No, that's wrong. Okay. Does this go under Forces of Mysticism? Or do we make it our own section for the Ignispex? What do you guys think? History and Truths. Realm Events. Grand Archive. Definitely doesn't go there. Gods and Divinity, I think I want to keep as just the Pantheon. I think Orders of Magic, new Ignispex. Yeah, let's just make a new one. And hopefully that works. There we go. Okay. We'll throw that in there. So that is now accessible to anyone with the doc, which is hopefully everybody. If you haven't checked out the master lore document, it's in the Discord. It's in that same channel. Just has everything kind of in one place for now, since we don't have a website. We're kind of between the Discord and this giant doc, which is frustrating, but at some point we'll have an official website with stuff like that. Okay, realm events. Let's go to chapter 2. So chapter 2 is obviously meant to be a little bit more of a Halloween theme, since we've got a couple days. Obviously, you guys don't have to write and do much between now and then, but I think as a whole, this will, in a way, be a very fitting theme for the realm in total, not just in Halloween time. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, chapter 2, Lurkers, Ignispex, and a Realm of Danger. In the wake of the twin death storms, the Spirefolk are mourning their losses. Many of the affected towns have held a burial service for those that were taken by the storms. Unbeknownst to them, however, is a sinister reality. Lurkers feed upon those taken by the death storms, and a burial mound allows their strength to fester and multiply. Suddenly, Spirefolk are faced with horrors beyond their comprehension. New beasts of all kind and of unknown origin torment the realm. Some are confused by all the darkness in this so-called age of light, and so they leave their villages in search of something more. But they are not alone. Many in the realm seek answers unknown. Locations of treasures, fates of enemies, or themselves, or a glimpse through deception. Just when those seeking answers are about to give up, they find it, their answers, in the form of an Ignispex. Mysterious creatures of unknown origin, mythic in existence, disappearing as quickly as they came, speaking in esoteric rhymes and riddles, and requiring only one payment for their oracles and prophecies: kindling. You see, the Ignispex are powerful seers, but their sight is granted in flame alone. Each prophet burns the kindling of their own unique domain, and with each offering, a different answer can be had. To those supplicants seeking the oracles of the Ignispex, the answers are within reach, but the price of knowledge often costs more than kindling alone, and fate is something best left untouched. So that's kind of the intro for Chapter 2. And then this is just a little note. Chapter 2 focuses a bit more on the horrific aspect of this darkening realm. While the Ignispex will be here to stay throughout the project, I encourage you to lean into the fear that many Spirefolk would have when encountering a lurker, an Ignispex, or any other horror for the first time. Feel free to draw/paint instead of write, create in any way you see fit. But think about how they would feel thinking their age of light had let them down. So we've got, once again, 2.5-ish prompts here. Lurkers. These creatures have never prowled the realm until the death storms arrive. Now villagers are seeing horrors that rival legend and myth. So for those who don't know about the lurkers, they are manifestations more than creatures that are born. They emanate from burial mounds of those taken by the death storms. So, since Chapter 1 was the advent of the very first known death storms in history, / not legend, people are now burying their dead from these death storms in these burial mounds, and exactly what they're not supposed to be doing, and that's what's summoning these lurkers, these creatures that shift their form to guarantee an instillment of fear, kind of like the Boggart from Harry Potter, except they can actually hurt you, attack you, feed off of your fear, chaos, flesh, everything. So how do Spirefolk encounter these beasts? What horrors do the lurkers take the form of in order to feed off of their fear and chaos? What slaughters do these monsters enact before being slain? Who might find a pattern between sightings, or who would be fearless enough to face them? So these are some quick examples. Obviously, I just want you guys to be able to write whatever you want, and especially for those looking to write something a little bit more horrific, eldritch horror, cosmic horror, all of that could kind of fit under lurkers in a lot of ways. Prompt number 2 is Seekers of Truth and Flame. A new form of magic has crawled into the realm. The Ignispex offer guidance to those seeking it, asking only for kindling in exchange. Their mystic nature makes them elusive, esoteric, and neutral in motive. So what Ignispex does an unsuspecting Spirefolk find? This could be a great one if you just want to make an Ignispex for this Chapter 2. If you just want to make an Ignispex that other people can use, that can totally fit here. You can submit that to the Realm Events channel, 100%. How does a zealous supplicant find one of these prophets, and how do they gather their kindling? That could be a great little story, journal, whatever. And then what effect does this mystic knowledge have on a mere mortal? This is once again kind of that more cosmic horror aspect to the Ignispex, the side of knowledge that shouldn't be known but is offered to those seeking. That's a great one. And then lastly, a realm of danger. The lurkers are not the only monsters and dangers that now threaten the realm. In a changing realm of monstrous growth and mystery, the most unassuming of these things can bring great horror. Use this prompt to draw about any horror that a Spirefolk could face. Monsters, insanity, the labyrinth of the woods, or any occult force that could be crawling its way back into the realm. So, once again, this isn't like necessarily a full 100% chapter, but this is one that I think can help you if you're kind of looking for just something creatively to write. If you're not really sure what to write about, but you want to create something that's your own, go with an Ignispex, go with a story for a lurker. You could merge the two together. There are plenty of ways to weave everything here. So I'll be putting the tags for this in the Realm Events section. So the 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.0, if it kind of doesn't fit under any of them, or if you feel like it's more merged, use the 2.0 tag. But yeah. The Spore Knights. Oh, I think I might have seen something about the Spore Knights. I'm trying to remember where exactly that was, but I did read about the Spore Knights a little bit. I think that could be a really cool idea. That would be perfect for this chapter. Have them feed off of misery. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sweet. Canon request, that's where it is. Let me find it. Spore Knights. There we go. Yeah. Feed on the hopelessness of the local populations and seem to have a psychedelic effect on them. Classic anti-demon rituals have been documented to be effective against them. Yeah, 100%. I would definitely, yeah, if you want to, you should definitely write about the Spore Knights. That'd be super, super cool. And for anyone who wants to check it out, it's in the canon request channel. Although I don't know if that one necessarily needs to be 100% canonized. I think that's just, if it sounds like they exist, which I think it sounds like they would definitely exist, then I think they do. I think that's good enough for canon for me. So yeah. Any questions about chapter 2? Let me do another little, whoops, thing here under realm events. There we go. That is now also updated for the Master Lore document. In the Realm Events channel, you can find all of the prompts from Chapter 1 if you want to keep writing about Chapter 1. And in Chapter 2, obviously, will be there as well. Read all the canon requests. I really need to. We might be able to do that here if we have a little bit of extra time in a minute. I might not have chance to go through every single one, but we can definitely go through some of them. Should be really fun. Yeah, any questions about chapter 1, Ignispex, anything? Is it cool? You guys excited, motivated, inspired, or just kind of like, oh yeah, just another thing? What are you guys feeling? What are you guys thinking? Let me know. Like I said, this is kind of one of the Ignispex is like one of the ones that I had planned on the longest, and I knew it's a crucial part of that dark fantasy theme. Like you need an oracle in the realm. You need the prophets, the seers, like those. You need someone with a big ball to see into. So I was like, I want a new spin on it, and the word Ignispex actually comes from the word Haruspex, which it's a type of prophet that reads the entrails of animals. I think a Roman priest who practiced divination by examining animal entrails. They're also a Warhammer 40,000 Tyrannid, but that's where the original word comes from. So I was like, okay, they read the entrails, divination. Why not have someone ignite something to read? And I thought about scrying and just the idea of like looking into flames. I thought that fits the vibe so well that why not just throw it in? So yeah, already found a good place to insert one into my stories. Awesome. That's the idea. 'Cause there's so much in fantasy that revolves around finding knowledge. And the other thing, for those of you who are D&D fans, I'm like, this is like how do you get a better D&D session than stumbling across an Ignispex in the woods? Then you have a whole little mini arc of going to find the kindling, coming back, and then offering it to them. But then the DM gets to put some like random curse on you because you took this forbidden knowledge. I feel like it fits perfectly into just the idea of, dark fantasy, retro fantasy. Like it's just there. It wasn't a matter of like creating something new. It was just a matter of finding what works and what fits for SpireHelm. And I think this is probably the thing I'm most proud of so far with SpireHelm. And I think it's going to be something that will be prevalent and will definitely stick around for the whole thing. I think they'll be widespread. Hopefully people use them in their works. It sounds like you guys have some ideas already, which is awesome. Hopelessness of that chapter 2 would bring. I did anticipate the hopelessness that chapter 2 would bring. Glad to hear my work paid off. Yeah. I think that's perfect. And I think there's multiple ways to take that hopelessness. People are praying to their gods and feeling abandoned. Maybe new gods are popping up to fill the void. You have these spore knights and these monsters that feed off of fear and hopelessness and misery, and they're coming to fill the void. And then there's people who are just like, I don't know where to find hope anymore. I just need answers. And then these Ignispecs are popping up now and being like, hello, we can give you some answers if you pay us this kindling and nothing else. I promise you won't be cursed. And so I think those, there's multiple ways to take any one story in the realm. So yeah. Plain of storytelling potential, especially with how strange their prophecy is and the cost of learning it. Yeah. I think people will have a lot of fun writing about them. Personally, I am a big like game designer. Like I love design. I love like building this guy out and thinking about the different aspects of what different bones could do and the different prophecies that could come from them is like something I really like. I know it's not the main format for SpireHelm since it's more supposed to be a found records collaborative writing project more than a building magic systems kind of thing. But this offers a little outlet for that for those people who are like, I want to just like build my own little thing. You can build your own Ignispex and it doesn't need to be canonized. It can just be official. Like any Ignispex you make can be considered truth as long as it's not like 100% a joke, obviously. But to the people of the realm, they are real. So, and they could be seen once by one person, or they could be seen hundreds of times by many people. So I think that could really fit. So many ideas, great. Definitely have a few ideas rattling in my brain. Awesome. I enjoy having a little something to build off of. I think you do a good job of giving us a good solid starting point. That's the whole idea. I feel like I've been trying really hard. I recognize that most of the people that joined the Discord joined at probably not the worst time, but like there wasn't a ton of structure yet because I was still working on building it, and I just threw out the video saying, hey, this is kind of what I'm working on, so that I had a video there when I kept working on stuff, people could refer back to it. Turned out that video was the one that blew up, and so now a bunch of people are excited and motivated and stuff for this, which is awesome. But the idea here is that I will be able to keep doing stuff like this, giving you a frame, a prompt, or a blueprint to work within that gives you some really good creative ideas, because the best creativity coming from an artist, a game designer, a art student, whatever you want to call me, the best, I've heard it from hundreds of more skilled artists than me and other people. It's not coming from me, but I can second the idea that the best creativity comes when you're limited, when you have limitations. And so with me putting a box here of like, this is the realm, putting a box of this is how Ignispecs work, putting a box of this is how the magic works in the world or where you can find it, here's putting a box of here are the known gods, but then letting you guys create within it is like the best way to be creative. And you end up with some of the best stuff. Like all the things I've seen in the Discord so far are really, really solid things. And I think that's because we're all working within one like binocular vision. You know, we're all in the same tube together, the same tunnel. And so I think we get a lot more creativity that way instead of just, let's just put anything fantasy here. And then you kind of end up with a bunch of just too many conflicting ideas and not enough fun. So let's see. Yeah, it sounds like all of you guys have an idea for one, which is awesome. Make it, go for it, do something crazy. And if you guys are good at drawing, or if you want to do a sketch or something, even if it's a sketch, like I think it'd be so cool to have a journal entry, and the supplicant goes home and writes about it in their journal, and they go, this is what they looked like to me. So if it's not a perfect drawing, it's their rendition of it in their journal, and it just looks like a pencil sketch or a charcoal sketch or whatever. And you can see like just like it's not a perfect, but it's an idea of what this creature could look like. That'd be super cool. Definitely part of what I enjoy is fitting my ideas into the world and connecting them in some sort of way, a web of lore. Yeah, that's the whole idea here, is we can connect things better than AI can because we have actual humans bouncing ideas off of each other, new ideas, not just regurgitating, even though we are pulling from the same fantasies together, like, you know, we're pulling from an aesthetic that does exist, we're spinning it off in new and creative ways and linking them together, creating a web of actual world that lives and breathes, not just a cool looking AI generated image. So that's the whole point. Demons cosplaying aliens to feed off people's confusion. That could be cool. Creating a new collector right now. Definitely going to implement this in a new entry. That would be sweet. Have an idea of a fire in the forest that collects info about you if you enter the forest, and he'll chase you in your dreams. That'd be cool. You can insert this quote-unquote Ignispex record into the world. Perhaps there's a group of collectors which collect all info of Ignispex and try to parse them into different characters. That could be really cool. I could definitely see that. Like people that the archive might have a sanctioned group of people, collectors that are set apart to like, hey, your job is to go, we just found this record talking about an Ignispex of Moss. Can you go find this guy? Because we need to know everything he's ever said to everyone. And if there's any information about him, we need it. So go out there and do it. And that could be a group of, once again, that's another story you could do, another journal entry if you're doing like collector journals, which seems like it's a very popular format from people, because I think it gives a lot of of good annotation and storytelling. So that could be really cool. Just wondering if the Dragon's Maw Lake a freshwater or saltwater lake? Because I thought it'd be funny, little legend involving Ignispex that could include the lake. I think it's a freshwater lake. It's kind of all the rivers coming together and then it flows out to the ocean. So, will we take a small session to name the different main Ignispecs, or will we just wing the names when writing about them? That is all up to you guys. So the idea here is that it's as open of a blueprint as the collectors. So if you guys remember in the Discord, I kind of said like, hey, here's a little blueprint that you guys could work from to make your own collector, because that's a very, prominent thing in the world. And a lot of people took it to the collectors group chat or the collector design chat and posted like, hey, this is my collector. They've been working for this long. They're this species. Here's a little sketch of them, whatever. The Ignispecs, I imagine, will function very similarly. You will have the freedom to make whichever one you want, whatever you can think of, multiple if you want. Once again, you guys aren't limited to one collector either. I think it's cool that when you write, you can write from the same authorship every time, from the same collector, and in a way, tell your own little story. But the Ignispecs are no different. You can make 10 of them, you can make one, and use it in every single one of your stories. You can make hundreds if you want. So the idea is that they are just a lot of them, but each of them are rare in their own right, if that makes sense. So, yeah. I mean, that's the Ignispecs. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this doc that I made, this little PDF. I made, obviously, the cover art, nothing crazy. I didn't have a ton of time to spend on this piece. Actually, I think I have the original. Let me see if I can find it. That's the one it's based off of. So it's not like a perfect by any means. It's more of a rough paint sketch. It's definitely not done. There's some areas like this whole area in here that I really don't love. Looks like there's an extra nose in there somewhere. Just the lighting is not perfect, but it's coming along. It's not terrible. There's a few layers in there and whatnot, but it's not AI and it's not directly copied. Like there's no, I mean, I did use like reference here and there for colors and lighting, and I used reference obviously with my own hand for, because just the holding a skull like this with claws is kind of hard to imagine in your brain. So I was like, okay, I'll just put the hand there and then I'll put my like the bones in a different, it was pretty close. So you can kind of see the thumb and the ring finger, but it's not perfect. But no AI, nothing there. We don't need that. So yeah. So that was fun. I enjoyed it, and I love the ideation stage. Oh, that's the wrong one. I love going through the ideas of, what these Ignispecs could be, what they could look like. I have visions in my head for like all of these. Maybe not all of them, I guess. But obviously the Ignispecs of scales, I have a vision and I sketched that one out. For anyone who didn't see the Ignispecs of scales, it's not a full piece yet, but kind of idea of this like cloaked snake-like figure who has like arms and legs but like a tail and is draped in like a scaled cloth. That's kind of the idea. Ignispecs of scales. Cursed blood. I thought about doing like an Ignispecs of just blood, but then I was like, there's a lot of blood. So you could have an Ignispecs of beast blood, you could have an Ignispecs of, in this case, cursed blood, which is completely open to interpretation. Like, what signifies cursed blood, and does it matter? Like, there is no objective, like, the Ignispecs can be like, well, that's not cursed blood, that's actually not cursed blood. But if you think it's cursed blood because you took it from someone you think is cursed, or a beast or something, then they burn it. And this one, I like the Ignispecs of cursed blood because that one doesn't speak. They burn the blood, and then they dip the quill into the burning blood and write the oracles down on parchment and then hand it to you. So that's like completely different than the other oracles who, talk to you or relay this information otherwise, So I think there's lots of ways to interpret it, and I really like the idea, like the Ignispecs of moss, I imagine being like a stone golem of some kind with like just covered in lichen and moss and like almost like a tree beard but made out of stone maybe. Now it's obviously the Ignispecs of cursed moss, thanks to my typo and forgetting to cut that one out. But it's whatever. Yeah, there's multiple types of bones for every creature, but only one type of blood. A person, creature. Yeah, per creature. Yeah, and I thought about doing a like an Ignispex of beasts. I think I have. Where's my notes at? I have my obsidian notes somewhere. Open over here. Oops. Yeah, let's see. Scrolls, I did. I thought about doing books, but books seemed a little broad as well. So I did scrolls instead. See you, Gabriel. It's been good. I thought about beasts, moss, bones. I think I had a couple others somewhere else, but I don't remember exactly what they were. Anyways, I think there's a lot of really cool ways you can interpret it, a lot of cool ideas that people will make, and I really hope to see you guys do some really cool stuff. Once again, if you want to follow this, I would hope you at least follow the blueprint generally, so that people, when other people read your stuff about your Ignispecs, they know obviously what domain they are, where their sanctum is, or how to summon them, what they look like, their countenance, their stricture, obviously their limitations, or what different kindlings do for them. And then if you want to, some known oracles, and obviously the known oracle section could be its own prompt by itself. So hopefully you guys can follow this blueprint. If you want to make your own page like this, you're more than welcome to. Obviously, I don't expect all of you to have access to Adobe softwares. I get them because I am in university right now, and so I get them all for free. So I use them frequently to make stuff. But if you wanted to do something similar, you don't have to do the same structure, but if you want it to feel like it's an in-world scroll or something that somebody else made about this Ignispex, that'd be really, really cool. Once again, I just want you guys to be creative. I want you guys to have fun more than anything. This is not serious. It's not a job. You're not getting paid. So it's really all up to you on how you want to do things. But I'd say just have fun, lean into it, lean into the aesthetic. We're all here because we like the dark fantasy slideshows at the end of the day. And I really tried to go off of that vibe for this PDF, this little quick start guide. A lot of the inspirations came from old D&D books, Vermis, for those who have seen or read Vermis, and the art related to that from, I think it's Plastaboo is the name. A lot of inspirations there, like that extra, like the dithering and the almost retro grainy CRT monitor-esque feel. So yeah, if you want to do something cool like this, you're more than welcome to. I don't think I have any way to share the format with you guys, but I imagine you guys have access to this. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, honestly, that's about it that I had for the stream today. I don't know if you guys have any more questions or just want to chill and talk about stuff. Or I guess another good question I could ask is, what if this is handout number 1, what would you guys like to see more of like this? If there was another format of this thing that wasn't the Ignispex but something else, what would your main vote be for another, guide / handbook / whatever? Within reason, obviously something under like 10 or 12 pages would be ideal. Anything bigger than that, it's going to take me a long time to make and get ready and produce and whatever. Species of SpireHelm. Powers and societies. That could be really cool. Curses or demons. Could be really cool. Civilizations. That could be pretty cool. The civilizations is hard. It'd probably have to be, because there's really, SpireHelm's the only big civilization, but it could be like a quote unquote world atlas where it's like not like maps, like, because we don't want to pinpoint everything on the map. The idea is that the map is open in general to interpretations, but the idea that you could have, hey, this is SpireHelm, this is the forest around SpireHelm, and here's what are in these woods, and then you have the whispered, or the whispered woods, I think, are what they're called up there, and then you've got like the dread marshes, and you could have like a page or two for each of those sections. It'd be really cool. Handbook on the different types of magic. That would be actually really cool. That wouldn't take a lot. We've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 types of magic. So 8 pages. That's only like 2 or 3 more than this. So that'd be really cool. Different sections of the archive. That could be a cool one. I'm for one of my classes right now. I'm in a 3D modeling class. I'm actually doing the interior of the archive in 3D. It won't be like a full 3D model of the whole thing, but it'll give me a snapshot of what I envision the inside of the archive to look like. So once I have that done, I think it's due next week. So maybe in a week or two, I'll have like an actual picture of what I think the inside of the archive will look like. And I'll probably do a paint over in Photoshop or whatnot. Um, the archive itself, it's going to be an interior shot, kind of like an old cathedral mixed with like fantasy Warhammer kind of inspired, like the tall pillars and like statues and whatnot. So that could be a really cool one to put either on the cover or inside if we did like the archive one. Symbols for each type of magic and associated color coding. Oh, that could be kind of cool for archive regulations. That'd be kind of cool to have like a different symbol for each. Isn't that something does D&D do that? Do they have D&D Schools of Magic? Do they have a different symbol for each one? Oh, people make their own. Oh, wait. No, am I seeing? It seems like most people kind of just make their own interpretations of the different symbols. There are their schools of magic, but is there an official Wizards of the Coast symbol for each one, or is it more just people make their own symbols to represent divination, abjuration, conjuration, enchantment, etc.? And obviously we could do something different. I just would want to make sure I'm not copying directly. Although our schools of magic, our orders of magic are very different than the schools of magic in D&D. So, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Let me write these down so I have some stuff to work on, obviously. And the hardest part is I've also got more videos I want to make and whatnot, but you know, we can get to that when we get to that. Let's just put a handout section. See you, random person 3. Thanks for hopping in. Hope to see you next time or around the Discord or around the archive soon. Yeah, the one thing that made this one a little bit easier is that it didn't require a lot of art. I wanted something original for the cover, so I kind of drew this one up pretty quickly. Obviously, it doesn't have to be super high fidelity since I end up kind of crushing the thing into this like retro print feel by the end. But I imagine like an encyclopedia of creatures would require a lot more art and not hopefully just sketches. So that one might be one that gets backburned a little bit, but could be cool. With enough stock photos, I could probably do a World Atlas one or Realm Atlas of some kind. Since like there's no point in drawing everything. I mean, you could have it mixed with sketches and also some like stock photos that represent it, or a combination. I take stock photos and paint over them. I could do some photo bashing and come up with a pretty decent result without having to spend hundreds of hours on it. Oh, right, the archive. I think that could be a cool one. The archive, and then have certain chapters in it for the hierarchy inside. I can never spell hierarchy correctly on my first try. Whatever. Oh, a folk legends one could be really cool actually too. That would be super cool because then we could actually use some of the community stuff that you guys have made without having, because I think a lot of people want to get their stuff out there for people to see, but I don't think there's as many people reading the submissions that have been put in SpireHelm as there are people who are writing them, which I think is totally fine. Obviously, the nature of the project is just that, where some people's stuff is just not going to be seen by as many people as they would like. But if we did like, here's some folklore from the world, some of it's true, some of it's not, but we don't know which, doesn't matter. We could just put in a bunch of people's stories and credit them, and if they want to create some art for their stuff, they totally could. That'd be a really cool one. I wouldn't be opposed to that. And the other thing too, for that one, I wouldn't want it to feel like the only problem with that one I see is that there's a lot of people who make stuff, and I wouldn't want people to feel like they got booted because their stuff wasn't good enough. I wouldn't want to make it a competition to see like, okay, well, if yours is the best one, then you get into the next thing. Obviously, these aren't like, I'm not making money off of these. Like, I'm not printing these. I designed it so that it would feel like it was printed at one point, but it's really not. And so I wouldn't want people to feel like they tried to make something specifically for the next handout, but it didn't make it in, and then they get mad. Obviously, not everybody can be happy, but some people are going to be mad all the time just for no reason. But the idea is that we don't make it feel like a competition. But I think there are some stories that if they fit the vibe, then it makes sense. They could be in there. So, I don't know. Yeah, highlighted section works and make them more professional. Yeah, we could definitely do that. Yeah, I feel bad. I've been so busy working on this, schoolwork, other things, videos. You know, I want to make some more YouTube videos and have some in the works, but because of all of that, I haven't had a ton of time to go through and read everything, canonize too much, highlight very much. So, yeah, if it's a little bit dead right now, I promise I'm not just ignoring everything. I do read through a bunch of it. Just that trying to like analyze for highlights and canons tends to be a little bit more work. And yeah, we're getting around to it. Don't worry. You're not being just left in the dust, but some of the stuff will be a little bit slower. Turn it into an avenue for collaboration. Yeah. Ideally, like if we had a website and the Discord was just for collaboration aspect and just discussing and talking and hanging out as a community, then that would be so awesome because we wouldn't even need, we could just say, hey, let's make a channel for this next submission thing and you guys can all work together and make something cool and we'll just publish it. But since the Discord is so dense right now, like there's so many channels, I don't want to just make another one just for this thing that might happen in the future if we don't have like an actual date or anything for it. So, yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, main gods. That would be a really cool one. Only problem with the main gods is have art for all of them. And that's really that would take a long time. But that's one that I would think would be really, really cool. Is some of the major gods, the pantheon and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Discord isn't the best when there's a billion channels. There needs to be nicer looking ways to nest things. Yeah. Unfortunately, the idea of a website is the idea for the website that I want is expensive. Like it's a combination of different websites. Unlike I think SCP, the Wikidot, I've looked into that and I've heard some good and some bad. But I also want it to be a place where people can submit their stuff and then it can be reviewed and then obviously either published or canonized or whatnot, depending on the different things people want. And so, but I also want it to be a wiki of itself. So when people go looking for information or just want to read some cool stuff, they can go there to find it. Or if somebody makes a YouTube video about a specific work, people go, where can I go read this? And they don't have to go, well, it's in the Discord, but it's buried under the myths and mysticism section or myths and legends. I'd rather them just be able to link to it directly if somebody wanted to promote content like that people had made. So yeah, I really want to do that. It's just, oof. There's a lot of aspects of a website and I want it to look and cool, feel cool. I might be able to get like some really cheap person to just make a bare bones website, but I want it to feel like retro dark fantasy, and which luckily is easier than making a really polished website. Like, I don't know, Work Louder is one that I've been on recently. They make keyboards. I'm looking at some new mechanical keyboard stuff since I'm a keyboard nerd. Well, not really. I'm not really a keyboard nerd. I'm a little bit of a keyboard nerd. I built one keyboard, soldered it myself and everything. But their website's really cool, but it's like got all these like moving bits that kind of fly around. And it's really cool feeling. It doesn't need to be that crazy. I want it to feel like an old school, retro, early internet, forum website kind of thing where people can post their stuff. So it won't be the hardest website to design ever, but there are lots of aspects that a lot of contracted people, like if you wanted to hire someone from Fiverr to make a website, a lot of them specialize in like workspace or like a Shopify type, like I'm going to sell stuff, or here's my business, here's how to contact me, and here's all my work or portfolios. This one is going to operate slightly differently. I need it to also be I need it to be a wiki, a uh, like a company website for SpireHelm official stuff like this and other stuff that I push or promote or publish. And then I also want it to be a submissions page for people who have cool works that they want to submit to the community so that can get reviewed to make sure there's not like, you know, explicit material or whatever in there. And then they can be published and done. Like all three of those things, I don't know of a single website that does all three. And if there is one, it's probably custom made. And that's the hardest part. So there's not like I can just make it on Wix in a weekend and pay for it. If I could, I would have done it already. But yeah. A website that looks and feels like bookshelves or like the archive would be awesome. That'd be actually super cool. That's a good idea. I don't know how hard that would be to do, but I like the vision. Anyways, yeah, so I've got Orders of Magic, Creatures of the Realm, Realm Atlas, Archive and the Hierarchy, Folklore, and Main Gods. Those are kind of the main 6, it sounds like, of things that people would like to see, which luckily, for the most part, we have that stuff in the Master Lore document. That's not stuff that's needing to be made. Like, that's not stuff that isn't yet canon. Like, we have all that stuff for people to reference, but having it in a form like this would be really cool. I do have the next quote-unquote big world thing. I don't think it'll be as big as the Ignispex, but another kind of staple of the realm and the kingdom is probably going to come in chapter 3. I don't know if I'll do a full PDF breakdown for it. Maybe I will. I don't really know. I'm trying to think of ways that it would make sense. This one felt like it needed it. Like when I was writing down all the stuff in the Google Doc, I wrote it all down. And I was like, this just needs a place to go. And I feel like a format that makes it easier to read, fun to read. Like it feels a little bit mysterious and like you have to kind of work through it. It's not just presented to you in like a brick of text. Each page has like its own little theme. So I was like, I need to do something like this. This is what the Ignispex needs. So depending on what the new additions to the realm will look like, they may or may not get one of these. Not every single thing will, but as many as I think need it and I can and have time to do it, I'll definitely be working on it. I really enjoy it. It's fun to do. So yeah, keep your eyes open. Hang around. There'll be more coming. This won't be it. But yeah, I don't think this works in dual view. How do I don't know. I originally, the idea would be that this is the cover page, and then there's the back side of the cover, and then this is page 1 on the left, and this is this is page 1 on the right. So you have cover, page right, and then this would be page left side, and then left side, right side. That's kind of how I envision in my brain. If you put it into 2-page view in, I think, Google Drive, I don't know if it does it. I don't know if it does side-by-side view in Google Docs, but if it does, a lot of times it won't line up correctly how I want it to because I didn't put in the perfect formatting for it to be an actual book for print. But it is what it is. Maybe the next one I'll be a little bit more careful and actually try to get it. So if you want to print this out and make a little booklet for yourself, go for it. I think that'd be super cool. Send me a picture in the Discord and I will highlight it or check it out. I think that'd be super cool. If I had a really nice printer, I'd be printing it already because I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. But yeah. Anyways, I think that's about it for this stream. But only issue is page 2. Yeah, I'd pretty much just need one more page in there. Like if I just did a page of, if it was a real like collaborative work, like we had artists and credits and copyrights and stuff, that would be on page 2, but there isn't. So maybe I just do one page, I don't know, with a single quote on it or something. I mean, this little tan bit up at the top, that little quote could probably be its own page just for like a title. You know how some books at the beginning, I don't know if this book has it. Let's see. Acknowledgements. No, it doesn't. But some books have like a single quote, like on the on the first entry page after the cover or something. That could be kind of cool. But anyways, thanks for coming to the stream. Thanks for checking this out. Thanks for all the feedback. I'm glad you guys are hyped about it. Obviously, I spent a long time on it, so I'm pretty proud of it, but I think it's also a work I'm proud to say I worked on. I think it turned out really cool. It's obviously pretty small. It's just 5-ish pages, so nothing crazy, but hopefully you guys are inspired, feeling like making some Ignispecs. I'm really excited to see where you guys take them and what cool ideas you have. Once again, feel free to collaborate with other people. If you have an idea for an Ignispecs, I'm sure there's an artist in the Discord who would love to draw them for you. If you don't want to make a whole Ignispecs, but you want to weave them into your writing, just do that. You don't have to make a full Ignispecs. You don't need to do everything. Just do whatever you're inspired to do. Have fun, be creative. That's basically it. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. There's no planned stream, but I'll be in the Discord, the rest of today, answering questions, posting some cool stuff. Maybe I'll post the sketch of my Ignispecs of scales for you guys, or maybe I'll work on it and polish it up a little bit, post it there. So, well, there you go. Liquid Noodles just said they'd be down to draw some Ignispecs. So, if you need someone, contact Liquid Noodles. But yeah, have fun. Feel free to lean into the horror aspect for Chapter 2 if you want to do more horror writing. And hopefully in the next couple weeks here, we'll have Chapter 3 ready and have some cool new Ignispecs level announcements and keystones for the realm. But without further ado, I will see you guys next time.